Right. So this is a TED Talk.
This is a TEDx talk.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Let me tell you.
She waited a
about
full
Jonas.
20 seconds to start talking.
Jonas is
Yeah.
19 years old. He studies law in Munich. In his spare time, he likes to play soccer. Jonas has a secret which he thinks he cannot share with anyone, not even with his best friend or with his parents. He's just too afraid of anger, rejection, and repulsion. Jonas knows that he has to suppress his sexual drive for his entire
no.
life.
Where do you think she's
And
going
he also
with this?
knows
Oh,
that
she's
there
about to
will
defend
never
pedophilia, isn't she?
be a
She is definitely about to
loving
do
and
that.
fulfilling
Oh, my
partnership
Lord.
that he can enter. Because Jonas is a pedophile.
Oh,
Yup. So look at the title of this TEDx talk. Pedophilia is a natural sexual orientation. So this is a huge cultural thing to me. It's a massive problem because like this year there was the professor, was it Old Dominion, I think, that was defending pedophiles.
right. And didn't he say that? He said something like, I'm going to paraphrase, not all pedophiles abuse kids.
Yep, and
Right,
not all. No, wait. She's gonna get to that point, and
Okay.
it's gonna make you really pissed off.
Yeah.
He's only attracted to female children between the ages of 6 and 12 years. But since he's aware of the consequences for the children, he has never given in to his sexual drive.
Okay, so wait. Here's a question for you. Does that matter to you?
No, it doesn't. Like, I don't care if he's ever given into it or not. Like, to me, it all comes back to there is some sort of childhood crap. There is something, this kind of, like, if you've gotten to the point where you want to dominate people like that, who aren't able to fend for themselves, there's something wrong. Like,
Okay,
you had a
so
horrible childhood or
wait.
something.
Let me jump off of that. So do you think that pedophilia is completely based in power? Then, so what she's saying, like in your mind, she's completely wrong because she's calling it a sexual orientation, but to you, it's all about power. That's what you think it is.
I mean, obviously, I don't know. It's just like when you say the word pedophilia, to me, that's the first thing that comes to mind. That
Right.
it's a disparity in power.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
I
saying that
agree.
scientifically that's the case, but that's just what comes to my mind. So,
We're not gonna look at it right now, Howard. But Vincent.
yeah, I saw.
All right, back to the video.
What is pedophilia? And what is it not? In the ICD-10, the International Classification System for Illnesses, pedophilia is coded as the sexual preference for pre-adolescent children. It is listed under the sexual disorders. Whether the persistent occurrence of sexual thoughts and feelings for pre-adolescent children have been active.
Why did it go to that guy's hand? I don't like that it did that. That was weird. Anyways, I actually have a real point here. So, going. Oh my God, Vincentus! I'm seeing him in the chat and it's killing me.
Yeah. Hard.
No, but so I have an opinion on this. But do you think that there's actually like a push in academia from people to normalize this as like a cultural destructive tool, like a way to break down society in general? Do you think that that's actually a real thing?
If you're asking if I think that is their goal,
Right.
I don't know, right? I can't read their minds, but I do think that is the resulting product of what they're pushing.
Right. But okay, so yeah, what I was asking was about the intentions. Like, where do you think it comes from? And so in my opinion, having been, around academia for the past 7 years, what I think is that it comes from I'm not going to say a good place, but it comes from a sympathetic place, because it's kind of this point that they believe that all people are redeemable, or that all people are like inherently good. And a lot of these people are people who have never had any real life experience. Like they've been in academia, like either in college or in academia their whole life.
Right.
And so I think that they don't understand, like they're like, oh, pedophilia. Oh, well, childhood trauma, that can be corrected with, it can be corrected with therapy. And it's like, no, it literally can't. Because like I've been open about the fact that like that's something that happened to me, and it's like that doesn't go away ever.
Well, it literally changes like how the synapses in your brain fire.
Yeah, it changes your reactions to this stuff. Yeah. Okay. Back to it.
Upon or not is not relevant to the diagnosis. Like every other sexual orientation, pedophilia can have different characteristics. For example, it can be heterosexual, it can be homosexual, bisexual.
Wait, so that was really telling to me as well. So she called it a sexual orientation, but now she's saying it can be homosexual, heterosexual, etc. So wouldn't that preclude it from actually being a sexual orientation? Wouldn't that mean that it's like it's even if let's call it a disorder? So if it's a disorder, wouldn't that mean that it's like a disorder that is a subdivision of a sexual orientation, right? So if you are a heterosexual, for example, then you would, and you're also a pedophile, you would be heterosexual, but you'd also be going after like young girls if you're a guy, right?
Right.
So isn't it more of a breakdown descriptor that's like further down the road rather than a sexual orientation? Like, isn't that
okay? Exactly. So I had what you're about to hit on. I think I had the same question. Like, is she making the case that this is from birth, or is it strictly from abuse at a young age?
No. By calling it a sexual orientation, that means it is from birth, like by definition, and that's the point.
Okay.
And
so then. Because they do argue that, and I don't know one way or the other, but they do say that, being gay or whatever, that's a intrinsic thing. Like you're born that way.
Right. Yes.
So they're trying to make that same argument for this.
Correct. That's what she's doing. That is exactly what she's doing. And actually, there's an argument that she's going to get to here in just a bit that is, it made me really angry. And because it's so disingenuous. But I want to see what you think about it.
Some pedophiles are exclusively attracted to children. Others are not exclusively attracted to children, but they're also sexually interested in adults. But their main sexual interest lies within children. Only if this main sexual interest is given, we talk about pedophilia.
So she's also saying, like, unless their main sexual interest is children, then they're not really considered a pedophile either.
I mean that's redefining the word.
It is, yeah, it is.
Because pedophilia is not a sole attraction to children.
Well,
right?
Yeah, no, it's not. But isn't pedophilia also like specifically a sexual attraction? It's not a romantic attraction. It's not a any other kind of attraction. It is a sexual attraction, right?
Right, but it doesn't mean it's exclusive.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So yes, you can still be attracted to people, whatever, of age or your age or whatever, or older even.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure why that
The vast
matters.
majority of all pedophiles are men, about 99%. Within the male population, 1 to 2% are considered to be pedophiles. This translates to about 60 million people worldwide.
That's disgusting. Also, could she talk any slower?
Yeah. Well, she's really trying to push that point. 60 million people worldwide.
Yeah, that's insane. It's absolutely insane.
World. This is as much as the population of Italy or of South Africa. Therefore, pedophilia is not an irrelevant phenomenon we can't simply ignore. Chances every one of you knows at least one pedophile are higher
That's a
than
scary
that you
thought.
don't know anyone.
Yeah.
We haven't found out yet why pedophilia occurs. There are biological, social, and psychological factors to it. It occurs unrelated to socio-economical status and unrelated to educational level. So generally speaking, anyone could be born a pedophile.
There it is. That's what you were just saying. They're
Yeah.
presenting it as a sexuality just like that.
Right. So, I mean, she's making the argument that it has nothing to do with early childhood development. Now, I don't personally know. I mean, that was just an opinion of mine, right? To me, that's what it seems like. It's like a power dynamic. I obviously have never studied it. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, no, I have studied childhood development, and I will say that adverse childhood events most certainly could push people in that direction. I don't understand why she's trying to say we know definitively. Like, she literally just said we don't know why, but then she's just like, well, it's not, it's not that. They're born that way. It's like, no, that's not true.
Like, show the sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you know this? Like, where's that information?
Receipts.
It is crucial to understand the difference between pedophilia and child sexual abuse, which is
they're
illegal
literally
and
the
must
same
always
thing.
be.
Right.
Pedophilia is only the sexual.
Like, this pisses me off because they're literally the same thing. Like, child sexual abuse and pedophilia. Okay, what is pedophilia? Sexual attraction to children. So if you act on pedophilia and you commit pedophilic acts,
That is abuse.
it is literally abuse because kids can't consent. Literally.
Right.
preference for pre-adolescent children. The difference between child sexual abuse and pedophilia becomes very obvious when we look at scientific studies. Think about it for yourself. What do you think?
I'd rather not.
What
know.
percentage of child molesters are pedophiles?
All of them.
Have a guess.
All of them.
Is it
I mean,
20%?
just by the definition, aren't they?
40?
Literally
60?
all of them.
Maybe even 80%? In fact, scientific studies indicate that only 20
That's that slippery word. Scientific studies. That's what the thing they do with all the COVID vaccine stuff too.
Right.
It's like scientific how? Show me your methods because
And so she's about to say only 20%.
Yep.
Then how do you categorize the rest of it?
of all
here,
child
let me go back
molesters.
10 seconds. And so
In fact, scientific studies indicate that only 20 to 30% of all child molesters are pedophiles.
it's
The vast
just
majority
literally
of
not
perpetrators
true.
are not pedophiles, but they're sexually interested in adults. Children can easily become victims of child sexual abuse because of their loyalty and because of ease of access.
But okay, so this is something that bothers the hell out of me because, well, two things. So I have been, like I said, I'm conducting research, right, for the past few years. And I can tell you, first of all, back to our scientific studies comment, that there is so much garbage that gets published in peer-reviewed journals. You must be able to
All the
read
time.
it. Yeah, you have to be able to read papers. Like, that's the biggest thing that I've learned in graduate school is how to properly read scientific papers and go through the methods to see if the study is valid because garbage gets published all the time. But the second thing is, did you catch that? Here, let me turn it back 10 seconds. I want you to listen to the way that she frames this because it's very passive.
For example, children can easily become victims of child sexual.
Did you hear how she did that? Children, it's not that someone did something to the children. It's that
They
children
just
become
became-
victims.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's like clearly she's downplaying it by making it passive. It's not like, no, this child, yeah, he accidentally, slipped and fell and became a victim. It's like, no, somebody did something to him that was, very evil and degenerate. Like that's not, you can't cheapen it like that.
Like the one thing while I'm watching this, the only thing that I can think, right or wrong, is confession through projection. As she's like saying this entire thing, it's like, what the hell have you done?
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Abuse because of their loyalty and because of ease of access. For example, a stepfather might abuse his stepdaughter because he feels anger or jealousy towards her mother.
And
not
that makes him a
pedophile abuses children.
Yeah, I don't get the distinction.
And not everyone who abuses children.
I'm gonna go back 10
is a
seconds.
pedophile.
Listen to what she just said.
Not every pedophile abuses children. And not everyone who abuses children is a pedophile.
But that's just not true. Like, everyone who abuses a child, like that's the definition
essential.
of pedophilia, right? Like,
yeah.
Let me be very clear here. Abusing children is wrong without any doubt. But a pedophile who doesn't abuse children has done nothing wrong.
Technically that's true.
I want to quickly
legally,
summarize
where
we are at the moment. According to current research, pedophilia is an unchangeable sexual orientation.
If she's right, they should all be sterilized. Maybe sterilized is the wrong word. Not sterilized, castrated. Like chemically castrated. Like if your sexual preference is to go mess with kids, like
that still doesn't change the abuse though. Like
I know.
whether you're chemically castrated or not would not stop the abuse.
But well, maybe, because if you're chemically castrated, like if you're like physically castrated, it's not going to stop like free levels of hormones. But if you're chemically castrated, you just don't get aroused.
Okay.
So that would be the difference.
Yeah, but she's also saying that not all. So yeah, but she's also saying that that not all pedophiles are, or not everybody who abuses a child is necessarily a pedophile.
And that's what I'm saying. Like she's trying to create this sexual orientation of pedophile to excuse maybe even someone she knows, or I don't know. It comes off, like you said, as a lot of projection, and it's inventing a. This is what I was saying before I lost my train of thought. It's inventing a new sexual orientation to excuse degeneracy. That's the point.
Yeah, this is a fucked talk.
The fact that this is on TEDx, like that this is sponsored by TED, right? I don't know if they're actually sponsored by them, but they're affiliated anyway. They're using the TED brand.
Well, they're on the same, like when you go to the webpage, it's like a branch of it. So.
Right, yeah.
Just like, for example, heterosexuality. No one chooses to be a...
Like, to compare pedophilia and heterosexuality is just crass.
Yeah, it's...
pedophile. No one can cease being one. The difference between pedophilia...
If she's right and no one can cease being one, then, I mean, I think the option is clear. Like, lock them up at least, right? But that...
Well, I mean, yeah, but you can't do that if they haven't already committed a crime.
No, you're right. Yeah, you can't. I mean, there's, like, what's the question? I guess the answer is arm yourself and protect your kids, but, like... I'm never going to accept someone who's an out-and-out pedophile as a normal person, and I'm not going to let them around my kids ever.
Right. So that kind of comes down to it's really the parents' responsibility, because I mean, I think it's pretty clear at this point that a lot of this child abuse happens in, like, single parent households where there isn't strong parenting, I'll put it that way.
Right. Yeah.
And other sexual orientations is that living out this sexual orientation will end in a disaster. So let's think about Jonas again. How can we help him not to cause such a disaster? How can we help him not to live out his sexual urges?
See, this is what I was talking about earlier, and I said, like, it's coming from a place of empathy. And for some reason, it's gotten to the point where we're sympathizing with a pedophile.
Yeah, and she's also trying to come at it from a weird perspective. Like, she's talking about, like, how do we stop it? I mean, the clear answer to me is you have parents who are being responsible with their children and not letting people like this around their children.
Right. Yeah. It's like what do you want? Like, what do you want to change? Like, I'm not going to accept your pedophile buddy, whatever his name was, as a normal person and let them be around my family. Like, it's just never going to happen.
Well, and this question is kind of odd, right? Because it's kind of like asking, how do we stop murder? Well, you don't. You just don't you try not to put yourself in the situations where that might be possible.
Right, and
like,
you protect yourself from it.
Right. Like, you're not going to, any more than you're going to stop pedophilia, you're not going to stop murder. So this is like it's just a stupid question. It's not a helpful way to look at it, in my mind, I guess.
Right, yeah. And I don't have a lot of empathy for pedophiles. Maybe that's a result of my own experience with sexual abuse. But when you start, like, trying to justify the things that happen to me, because I take this very, very personally, right? So when someone's trying to justify that, it's like you're trying to feel bad for the person that caused me years of trauma and processing where I couldn't live a normal life because of what they did. Right. And so it's more than just like the act that they committed. It's what goes on for years and years. Like you in many situations, you've ruined a person's life for good.
Yeah, and there may be no coming back.
For a lot of people, there's no coming back.
Right.
And it also, with a lot of people, they continue the cycle, right? So for perspective on that, so two of my family members were abused by priests. 3 of my family members were abused by a priest, and they were the 3 people that carried that on down to me, right? So it isn't something that stops once you've done, like a pedophile, like that priest doesn't just have to answer for what he did to those 3 boys. He also has to answer for what happened to me, right? Because
their
he
children,
started the cycle.
Their children, like, it's a generational problem at that point.
Yeah. It's so disturbing. People like this who don't understand the implication of it, all they understand is that, oh, let's play nicey nice guys and try to make sure that everybody can be part of society. It's like, no. You're literally playing with fire when you do that.
And this is why, like, to me, this always comes back to how, like, people are always asking, how do we change society? And my general answer is not that you're going to change people's minds who are in their 30s, 40s, whatever. It's you're going to raise kids and you're going to raise them to think critically. Not that you teach them how to think, not that you teach them what to think. I'm sorry, not that you teach them what to think, but you teach them how to think.
Correct.
Right? It's not like, I'm a parent. It's not my job to say, listen, son, this is what you're going to believe. It's my job, one, to protect him from people like who she's talking about, right? To me, it's not the society's greater problem. It's my problem.
Right.
Like, this is a problem for me to deal with, and I protect him, not for society as a whole to try to figure it out, because personally, they don't care.
Yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah. Well, and here's the issue with something like this. When you get a generation of people who are that are going to treat pedophiles in this way, then with this much leniency, what's going to happen is you're going to have that generation is going to treat pedophiles with too much leniency, and then kids are going to get abused, and then that generation is going to hunt them down, and then the cycle is going to repeat.
Right.
So But yeah, the point has been made with this video. I don't really want to watch any more of it.